Your grandfather would be disappointed in you. I know that's a rough way to start, but stay with me here because I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to wake you up to something that nobody in your family is going to tell you. See, there's this lie we all believe. We think wealth is like a relay race. One generation builds it, passes the baton, next generation carries it forward, passes it again, and the family just keeps winning forever. Nice story. Completely false. The truth? 70% of families lose everything by the second generation. By the third generation, 90%. Gone. And I'm not talking about families who made bad investments or got unlucky. I'm talking about families who did everything right on paper. Trusts, wills, financial advisors, the whole package, still lost it all. So either rich people are secretly stupid, which they're not, or there's something else going on here that nobody wants to talk about. And that something else is what we're going to break down today. Now, real quick, because I have to say this, nothing here is financial advice or investment recommendations. I'm not your advisor, I'm not managing your money, I'm just a guy who obsesses over these patterns and wants to share what I've learned. We good? Good. So here's what most people assume. They think the hard part is making the money. Build the fortune, set up the legal structures, and boom, your family is protected forever. Your kids are set. Their kids are set. Problem solved. But if that was true, then why did the Vanderbilts, the richest family in American history at one point, go from $200 billion to literally having broke family members within 3 generations? They had the best lawyers, the best accountants, every advantage money could buy. And they still lost everything. So clearly, the money isn't the problem. And clearly, the documents aren't the solution. There's something deeper happening here, something psychological, something cultural, something that repeats across every wealthy family in every country throughout all of history. In China, they say wealth doesn't survive 3 generations. In Italy, from the stables to the stars back to the stables. In Brazil, rich father, noble son, poor grandson. Every culture on earth figured out the same pattern independently. That's not coincidence. That's human nature screaming at us. I'm Dom, and this channel is where we cut through the fantasy version of wealth and talk about what actually determines whether families thrive or collapse financially. If you want the real conversations that nobody else is having, subscribe, because this is exactly what we do here every week. All right, let's get into the 4 things that are quietly destroying family wealth right now while everyone focuses on stock picks and real estate deals. I call these the silent killers because they work in the background. Nobody notices until it's too late. Silent killer number 1, the comfort curse. Picture 2 people. Person A grew up broke, like genuinely scared about money. That fear became fuel. It made them obsessive, careful, hungry. They built wealth because they never wanted to feel that fear again. Now their kid, person B, grows up in a nice house, good school, never missed a meal, never felt that survival pressure. They're a good person, smart even. But they never developed those financial survival instincts because they never needed to. It's like this. If you grew up in a jungle with predators everywhere, you'd be sharp, alert, ready. But your kid grows up in a safe enclosure where everything is handled. They're soft, not because they're weak as people, but because they never had to develop that edge. Then one day they inherit the keys to the jungle, and they have 0 instincts for what's coming. That's what happens with money between generations. The people who build it have scars and instincts. The people who inherit it have comfort and assumptions get expensive real fast. Silent killer number 2, financial illiteracy that gets passed down like a disease. Here's a number that should make you uncomfortable. 78% of people who inherit significant wealth never received any real financial education from their parents. 78%. The parents were too busy building to teach, or they thought talking about money was tacky, or they just assumed the kids would figure it out somehow. So what happens? You're basically handing someone the keys to a race car when they've only ever ridden a bicycle. They don't understand the power. They don't respect the danger. They press the gas and wrap it around a tree. I know this guy, inherited about $4 million at 26. Smart guy, college educated, not some idiot. 5 years later, completely broke. Not because he was dumb, he just had no framework. He saw a big number and thought it was a spending account, not an asset that needed to be maintained and grown. Nobody taught him the difference. And that gap in education cost him everything. Silent killer number 3, Lifestyle inflation on steroids. This one is sneaky because it feels normal while it's happening. Here's the pattern. Every generation takes the previous generation's peak lifestyle and treats it as their baseline. What was luxury for your parents becomes necessity for you. Your dad bought his first Mercedes at 50 after decades of grinding. You think you need one at 28 just to feel like you're on track. Your grandparents thought one vacation a year was incredible. You think 3 international trips is just standard life. And here's the math that kills families. Lifestyle spending in inheriting families tends to grow 3 times faster than the actual wealth. So the money might be growing at 7% a year, but the lifestyle expectations are growing at 20+%. That gap is a slow-motion disaster. Silent killer number 4. The division problem. Basic math. One fortune gets split among 3 kids. Each of those portions gets split among their kids. Within 2 generations, that original fortune is now 9 pieces minimum. And that's before estate taxes take up to 40% federally, plus state taxes. But the real division problem isn't math, it's people. 60% of wealth transfers that fail involve family conflict. Brothers suing sisters, cousins fighting over grandma's estate. Families that were close for decades suddenly destroyed because nobody had honest conversations about money while everyone was still alive. Money doesn't tear families apart. Silence about money tears families apart. Now here's where this gets kind of heartbreaking, and I need you to really hear this part. Most parents who build wealth, they do it out of love. They want their kids to have it easier. They don't want them to struggle and suffer the way they did. That's not a bad intention. That's a beautiful intention. But that same protective instinct often creates the exact opposite result. By removing all struggle, all challenge, all discomfort from their kids' financial lives, they accidentally raise adults with no financial immune system. It's like raising a kid in a completely sterile environment. Sure, they never get sick as children, but the first real virus they encounter as an adult, they have no defenses. It wrecks them. The struggle that the parent wanted to protect their kid from was actually the thing that built their own strength. Remove the struggle, remove the strength. Let me give you the contrast that makes this real. Cornelius Vanderbilt died in 1877 as the richest man in American history. Adjusted for today, his fortune would be over $200 billion. More than Musk, more than Bezos at their peaks. His family had everything: best education, best connections, unlimited resources. By 1973, when the family held a reunion at Vanderbilt University, there wasn't a single millionaire among them. 200 billion to zero in under 100 years. Now, compare that to the Rockefellers. John D. Rockefeller built his fortune around the same time. 6 generations later, the family still has significant wealth, still has influence, still has billions under management. Same starting point, same era, completely different outcomes. Why? The difference wasn't the money, it was the system around the money. The Rockefellers built structures, family governance, a family constitution, required financial education, rules that younger generations had to work and prove themselves before touching significant money. They treated wealth transfer like a multi-generational project requiring constant attention. Not a one-time event handled by lawyers. The Vanderbilts treated it like a one-time event, and it cost them everything. So, what do the families that actually beat the odds do differently? There's a playbook here. It's just that most families don't want to do the work. First, real family governance. I know that sounds corporate and boring, but stick with me. Families that maintain wealth across generations have formal structures for talking about money, scheduled family meetings, not just holidays where everyone avoids the topic. Actual dedicated time to discuss the family's financial situation, values, and decisions. Some families have written constitutions that outline how decisions get made, what the values are, how wealth gets managed. It sounds intense, but think about it. Any successful business has governance. Board meetings, clear roles. Why would you treat a multi-million-dollar family fortune with less structure than a startup? Second, mandatory financial education with real consequences. Families that last don't just hope their kids figure out money. They require competence. Kids work regular jobs before accessing trust funds. They have to demonstrate understanding. Some families use milestone-based trusts where you unlock portions of inheritance only after hitting certain achievements. One approach I love: you give kids a small amount at 18 with zero guidance. Whatever happens, happens. Some blow it immediately, and learn that money disappears fast. Some invest poorly and learn about risk. Either way, they learn with low stakes before they ever touch the real money. Third, separating ownership from management. Here's a trap. Families assume that because someone is blood, they should run the family business or manage the family money. But owning something and being qualified to manage it are completely different skills. Smart families separate these roles. Family maintains ownership and benefits from the wealth. But professionals who actually know what they're doing handle daily operations and investment decisions. Less ego, less conflict, better outcomes. Fourth, and this might be most important, having a purpose that's bigger than money. Families that only have money as their shared identity have a fragile foundation. What happens when people disagree about money? Everything falls apart. But families with a shared mission, shared values, something larger than the bank account, they have something to unite around, even when things get difficult. For some, it's philanthropy. For others, it's a family business legacy. For others, it's specific principles they want to preserve. The point is, money becomes a tool for that purpose instead of being the purpose itself. And that shifts everything about how people relate to it. Let's get practical, because I don't want this to just be interesting. I want it to be useful. If you're building wealth right now, here's what matters. Document your process, not just your outcomes. Your kids can eventually see your account balances, but can they see how you made decisions? Can they understand your sacrifices? Can they learn from your mistakes? Write things down. Talk about your journey. Make your financial thinking visible. Get your kids involved early, not in a way that makes them anxious, but age-appropriate involvement. Let them see how bills work. Help them understand that vacations require planning and money. Give them allowance with some guidance. Let them make small mistakes now when it doesn't matter. And this is hard but important. Create some struggle intentionally. Don't remove every obstacle from their path. Don't buy everything they want. Let them earn things. Let them feel the satisfaction of working for something. That builds financial muscle that just receiving never can. If you're going to inherit wealth, or already have, listen to this. Build something of your own first. Before you receive anything significant, you need to prove to yourself that you can create value independently. Otherwise, inheritance becomes your entire identity, and that's a psychological trap with no exit. Understand every single asset you inherit. If you don't understand something you own, you will lose it. That's almost a guarantee. Don't just trust advisors to handle everything. Learn, ask questions, know what you have and why. Get mentors outside your family. People who will tell you truth without worrying about family dynamics. People who can see your blind spots and call you out without caring about holiday dinners being awkward. For everyone watching, regardless of which side you're on, there's an $84 trillion wealth transfer happening right now, the largest in human history. Over the next 2 decades, baby boomers are passing their assets to the next generations. If current patterns hold, 70% of that will disappear within 1 generation. Trillions of dollars, gone. Not from bad markets or economic crashes, from the patterns we talked about today. You can be part of that 70%, or you can be intentional about breaking the cycle. Here's what I want to leave you with. The goal is not to leave money for your children. The goal is to leave capability in your children. Money can be lost, stolen, taxed away, inflated away. But capability, knowledge, values, discipline, financial intelligence, that can never be taken. And it can generate new wealth even if the original money disappears. Families that last across generations aren't focused on preserving dollars. They're focused on developing people. So here's my question for you, and I want you to actually sit with this. 3 generations from now, what will your descendants say about you? Will they be selling your stuff to strangers? Or will they be building on something you were intentional enough to create? You're either building a legacy or you're burning one. There's no neutral ground. Every choice you make about money, how you talk about it, how you teach it, how you structure it, that's adding to a foundation or letting it crumble. Your grandfather built something. The question is what you're going to do with it. See you in the next one.